The gentleman from California, Mr. Lieu, and a member opposed. Each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California.
Thank you. Let me first start off by commending Representative John Sarbanes for H.R. 1 and everyone who's worked on behalf of this historic bill. Today I rise in support of Amendment number 12 to H.R. 1. And last term I introduced what's known as a Swamp Flyers Act to make sure that government officials don't abuse taxpayer funds for their luxury travel preferences. We could not get a vote on this bill last term. Very pleased that now I'm going to be able to offer it as an amendment to H.R. 1. This is a common sense amendment. It would simply prevent government officials from using taxpayer funds to travel on a private, chartered, or non-commercial flight. If your official business needs you to go on one of those really expensive flights, you might want to think twice about why you're doing it. Eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse has long been a bipartisan mission of the U.S. Congress, and I can think of a few more obvious candidates in paying for private jets for cabinet officials to travel across the country. And as every member of Congress knows, you can reach any district in the U.S. just flying commercial. I think it's disturbing I even have to introduce this amendment, but let me just walk folks through some of the corruption we've seen in the last 2 years. Former HHS Secretary Tom Price spent more than $400,000 in travel on private jets. Former Interior Secretary Ryan Zink spent over $39,000 of taxpayer funds on a helicopter tour of national monuments in Nevada. He then spent an additional $12,000 of taxpayer funds on a private jet to go to Las Vegas, Nevada, to speak at a hockey team owned by a major donor. Former Veterans Affairs David Shokin spent over $122,000 of taxpayer funds to go with his wife to Europe for the primary purpose of sightseeing. And then we've got former EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt, who spent at least $58,000 on chartered flights. And I could go on. If this had been law, they would not have been able to do this. Hardworking Americans deserve better. A vote against this amendment is really something that taxpayers would not appreciate. So I urge my colleagues to vote yes on this common sense amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from Ohio seek recognition?
Rise in opposition.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank the chair. This is duplicative of current rules. Political appointees are government employees who are held to specific travel and ethics standards already. Restrictions are there, have been there, but the Democrats seem to want more bureaucrats involved in the review. Political appointees follow these fundamentals, among others, related to federal travel. Travel must be conducted in the most efficient and effective manner, and only when necessary to accomplish the purposes of the government, and employees traveling on official business are expected to exercise the same care when incurring expenses as a prudent person would on personal business. Current federal travel guidelines for political appointees already limit travel flight expenses to common carrier commercial fares. The only time private company aircraft can be accepted is if no other travel arrangements are practically available or when they are offered to your spouse, but explicitly not because of the political appointee's position. Either way, all of this would be required to be run through the White House counsel's office. I would urge that we oppose the amendment and would reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to note that a number of these cabinet officials defended the use of luxury travel preferences by saying that their travel was approved. So clearly there is not enough in the law to stop this abusive behavior of taxpayer funds. And again, if you just look at the abuse of travel, we know we can stop it. There's no justification for it. And I request that my colleagues vote for this amendment. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Back.
The gentleman from Ohio yields back. The gentleman from California is recognized.
In closing, this is a common sense amendment. I appreciate, again, the historic nature of H.R. 1, and preventing travel abuse by cabinet officials is something that we can all support on a bipartisan basis. And I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from California. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to.